There's always a tension between saving money for the future and spending money today. When that tension isn't handled properly, you run the risk of not enjoying the future, not fully enjoying today, or both. In today's video, I'm going to teach you exactly what you need to know so that you can be on track and save for the future while you also enjoy today. Hey everybody, I'm James Canole with Root Financial Partners, and I'm here to teach you what you need to know to create a secure retirement. So how can you prepare for the future while also living an enjoyable, balanced life today? It's a question that a lot of people struggle with, and from my standpoint, I see too much of two different types of people. On the one hand, you see the person who's living an amazing life today and spending a lot of money today, but they don't have very much saved for the future. On the other hand, I see the individual who's done a tremendous job of putting money away and deferring money for the future, but they live overly frugal lives today. Which one is better? Well, on the surface, it seems like the first individual is having their fun today and they're going to pay for it in the future. And the second individual is going to have their fun in the future and they're paying for it today. That's how it appears, but the reality is far different. Neither of these individuals is fully enjoying the present or the future. The person who's spending money like crazy today and has all the nice toys and has all the fun things, they are having some fun, but in the back of their mind, there's always that sense of I'm underprepared. I know this isn't sustainable. What's my future going to look like? And that causes them a lot of anxiety in the future or in the present. The second individual that's very well prepared for the future, they never actually get that ability to enjoy it because they almost live in the state of fear or this state of scarcity where that never goes away. Even once they have enough money prepared for retirement and saved for the future, they still have this scarcity feature about them and they can never fully enjoy it because there's too much of a fear bent or too much of a fear focused when it comes to their finances. So if we can't properly manage the tension between both of those, it's not that we're choosing to have our fun in the future or today, we're having neither fun in the future nor today. We're not having fun in either area of our lives. So this is a big challenge that all of us have with our finances. And what I'm about to say might sound a little woo-woo or a little out there, but I can promise you it's the truth. What we too often do is we look at finance like it's a math problem. We look at retirement like it's a math problem. We look at our decision making like it's a math problem. There are certain components of that. There are hard numbers and some almost equations that you can solve to determine some of these things. But so much of this is subliminal, or so much of this is subconscious. It comes from the way we grew up with money. It comes with the expectations of others. It comes with the expectations of our spouses or our friends or our experience with money. There's so much that's an emotional component that we justify or we think is just financial, is just logical. And when we approach it as just a logical standpoint, we miss some of the deeper things. So as we're approaching this, understand that so much of this is subconscious and so much of this is based upon our experiences and stories and our expectations that we've developed along the way. That being said, there is a fairly simple framework that can help us to understand what can we do to be on track for the future while also enjoying today. That's the framework I'm going to walk you through in today's video. The first thing that we need to do is we need to get intentional about what's important to us. Now, ideally, you're intentional both today and in the future, but I'm going to start with the future. The reason for that is the future is a little bit more vague. The future is a little bit less clear. Today, we can understand where we're spending money and what we want to be doing and what our goals are. The future is this vague, ambiguous place that we tend not to spend a whole lot of time truly thinking about from a practical standpoint. So the first thing that we're going to do to help balance the two is start with the future. Okay, and what we want to do is this. What does a successful future look like for you? What are your goals for what that time looks like? We need to have an understanding of what that lifestyle looks like, because when we have an understanding about that lifestyle looks like, we can start to understand what the cost of that lifestyle might be. Now, don't get too concerned about getting super specific or super detailed, but ask yourself the question, do you want to be traveling more in the future? Do you want to be giving more in the future? Do you want to be supporting children or grandchildren's education in the future? Or do you simply want to be able to maintain your standard of living today, but not have to work to be able to do so? Ask yourselves those questions because what that's going to do for you is it's going to give you a sense of what's it actually going to cost to be okay in the future, maybe when you're no longer working. When you do that, it's going to give you a great starting point that you can then work backwards from to balance what you need to do to get there while also having the fun and the enjoyment of your money today. So when you start with that, the benefit is you're going to have a clear understanding of what it takes to get there. And what I mean by that is, let's say you want to spend $75,000 per year in the future. Well, that's going to be a whole lot different than someone who wants to spend $175,000 per year in the future. In terms of the money that you have today, how you're going to need to balance that between how much is allocated for future goals and how much is allocated for present spending and current goals. So the first thing that you need to do is start with that. Again, yes, we want to balance today's goals and today's vision and what we want to spend money on today, but we already know that to an extent because we're doing it. Start with the future so you can get a vision of what that is, and then we can balance and reconcile the two. So once we've done that, the second thing we need to do is calculate the portfolio size needed. So if we know what we want our future to look like and how much it's going to cost, at least in today's dollars, then we can start to work backwards to say how much of a portfolio will I need to support that future lifestyle. Now, in a more recent YouTube video called Take These 5 Steps to Know If You're on Track to Retire, I laid out the outline for the 5 steps you can take to understand what does that portfolio value need to look like in order to generate the income you'll need in the future to maintain that lifestyle and to accomplish the goals that you have. So I'm not going to go through that full exercise in today's video, but essentially what it is understanding what your expenses are in the future, how much of those expenses are going to be covered by what I like to call non-portfolio income, Social Security, pension, rental income, etc. And then that difference, that delta between non-portfolio income and your living expenses, that's where your portfolio comes into play. So when you know how much on an annual basis you need from your portfolio, say it's $40,000 per year, then you can divide that by a portfolio withdrawal rate, say 4%, and that gives you your total portfolio value. So if I need $40,000 per year, I know $40,000 per year needs to represent 4% of my portfolio, I now know I need $1 million by the time that I retire to supplement my income from Social Security and pension and other sources to be on track and do what I want to be able to do. Now contrast that to another example where maybe I want to live on $60,000 per year in retirement. And let's assume that I'm going to retire and I'm going to have a pension and I'm going to have a Social Security benefit, and that comes out to exactly $60,000 per year. Well, in this super basic simplified example, my goals for the future are covered by non-portfolio assets. Meaning technically I don't need anything in my portfolio. So if I want to balance today and balance the future, well, I have this ability, or I have this permission to give myself to spend more money today because I'm already on track just with my Social Security and pension benefit. Now you may not feel super financially secure relying just upon those sources, but it starts to give you a general framework of knowing how much money you need from your portfolio will start to enlighten you on how much do you need to save to be on track to have that portfolio in the future versus the remainder you can afford to spend today. Then step number 3 is this. It's work backwards to understand how much you need to save on a monthly basis to be on track to have that portfolio value. So quick recap, start with a vision of what you want the future to look like, because then you can almost put a price tag on how much is it going to cost to do so. Step number 2, how much of your portfolio needs to be there to support that living expense goal in retirement. Knowing some is going to come from non-portfolio resources, but another part of that will come from your portfolio. So solve for how big that portfolio needs to be to accomplish those goals. Step number 3 is saying, okay, if that's our portfolio value in the future, we need to work backwards to see how much do we need to start saving today in order to be on track for that. What that's going to do as we start to tie this all together is once you know how much needs to be earmarked for the future, it's going to give you the ability just to automate that, put that on autopilot, and then give yourself permission to say, if I want to, I can spend everything else that's not being saved for retirement, which will allow you to enjoy today to the greatest extent possible while knowing you're still on track for retirement. So let's look at a couple of examples. Well, one of these we just looked at. Let's say that you have $60,000 per year coming in from Social Security and pension, and you want to spend $60,000 per year in retirement. Well, assuming there's some cost of living adjustments built into that pension, Social Security has a little bit of one, you don't technically need to save anything. So whatever your income is today, give yourself permission to spend the majority of it because your future needs are already covered. There's always that tension between future needs and current consumption, and if your future needs are already covered, you can spend more today and not have that anxious feeling of, am I going to be okay in the future? Now let's assume it's not $60,000 per year that you want to spend. Let's assume it's $160,000 of pre-tax dollars that you want to have when you retire. Let's still assume that $60,000 that's coming from Social Security and pension. What that means is we need to have $100,000 that's coming from your portfolio to supplement Social Security and the pension. So we need $100,000 of extra pre-tax income, and I like to use a 4% or 5% withdrawal rate just for the examples in this. And so what we're going to do is let's assume a 5% withdrawal rate, for example here. So we know we need $100,000 of pre-tax income by the time that we're retired to supplement pension and Social Security. Okay, $100,000 needs to represent 5% of the larger portfolio value, which is going to end up being our target. So if I take $100,000, divide it by 5%, that gives me a portfolio value of $2 million. Meaning if I had $2 million, looking at it the other way, 5% per year of that as a withdrawal rate could give me $100,000 of pre-tax money. So we know that's our ultimate goal, but that's in the future. Let's assume, for example, I'm 55 today and I want to retire at 65. Well, I know that at 65, I need a $2 million portfolio. If I work backwards, I can start to understand what I need to save today to be on track for that. Let's assume I have $750,000 in my portfolio today. At age 55 and at age 65, I need $2 million. I have 10 years. Let's assume I'm going to get 7% per year growth on my investments over the course of that time period. What I need to do is I need to pull out a calculator, an Excel spreadsheet, or some type of financial tool to say if I'm at 750 today, I want 2 million in the future, and I'm growing at 7% per year for 10 years, what's the amount that I need to be saving on an annual basis to reach that? Well, I already pulled up my calculator ahead of time and did this. I would need to save $38,000 per year to my portfolio to be on track. Now, see what this does is this isn't just a future financial calculation. What this allows me to do is it allows me to compare this to my current income. And I say, okay, if I want to be able to have $2 million in the future, I need to save $38,000 per year. Well, the next step is how does that compare to my income? Well, if my income today is $75,000 and I need to save $38,000, that's going to be very difficult. That's about a 51% investment rate or savings rate when compared to my income. So that's probably not sustainable. That's probably going to get me a great retirement, but I'm probably sacrificing today in order to be able to do so. So you just have to start to ask yourself the trade-offs. Are you willing to give ground in the future, or are you willing to give ground today? Where are you willing to make those sacrifices and those trade-offs? Now the reality is someone making $75,000 today probably isn't going to want to spend $160,000 in retirement, or probably isn't going to need to spend $160,000 in retirement. Typically our expenses go down, not up when that happens. So that's probably an unrealistic example. But now let's assume someone's making $250,000 per year today. And they're the ones that want to spend $160,000 in retirement. And they're the ones that need $2 million in their portfolio to make it happen. Well, if they need to save $38,000 per year between 55 and 65, $38,000 per year divided by 250,000, that's about a 15% per year savings rate. So all of a sudden that becomes a whole lot more realistic for most people to say only saving 15% of their income as opposed to 51% of their income. So I know that's a fairly simple framework to look at it, but it's effective. And the reason it's effective is because so often these retirement projections, they have to do with retirement, and yes, they show us what we're on track for retirement, but it also informs our decisions today. When we can quantify what do I need to do today to be on track for that future goal, it makes it a whole lot more clear. By clarifying the future and running through that projection, we get some real clarity on what do I need to save today in order to make that happen. And now when I know what I need to save today, I can have that understanding of is that realistic or not. And if it is, great. I can save that money for the future, and I just know mentally I'm on track for my future goals, and then I can give myself permission to spend the rest today, to enjoy the rest today. And in doing that, I'm balancing today while also balancing the future. If it's not realistic, then you just start to have those conversations of, okay, what else can I do to be on track? Do I work longer? Do I cut future lifestyle? Do I cut current lifestyle? Do I do different things along the way? It's going to help clarify for you those immediate things that you can start to do to be on track for future goals while also enjoying today. So this is just the first step. Is it perfect? No. But at the end of the day, we're planning for a vague future goal with dozens and dozens and dozens of variables and things that are going to change and be adjusted along the way. So prioritizing direction over speed is far more important here. Having a sense of what general direction do I need to go, that's what matters most. And this simple framework will help you understand how to do so. Now, if you're listening to this and saying, well, how do I know when I have enough? What does enough mean to me? Be sure to check out this video above. In this video, I'll walk through what does having enough mean and how do you know once you've arrived. Thanks for watching. This is James Knoll with Root Financial Partners. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to share it with someone else who you think would benefit from this information. And also, please be sure to like and subscribe for more content just like this. Finally, if you'd like to see how we help clients create a secure retirement, be sure to check out our website at rootfinancialpartners.com.